Well, all right, you guys, let's have fun with this one this evening. This one's going to be a little bit more technical, but hopefully you'll be able to take this layer of information and use it as a foundation for how you are doing energy work, how you are manifesting and creating your reality, and most importantly, how you are clearing the things that aren't serving you anymore and getting to a place where it's easily just completely freely moving out of your system in order for you to more and more house your higher self and who you are. So with that, let's just go ahead and come into center as we just become present with each other this evening in our group. Just allowing those nice deep breaths to bring us into the present moment of now. And whatever energy on the planet that we have been feeling, whatever vibrations we've just been noticing in our body, letting them just drain out of your body into the earth. Let Mother Earth's nutrient-based body be able to just absorb and soak all of that up, neutralizing, calming that magnetic frequency. Creating your 24-dimensional shield in whichever way is most appropriate for you. And however you visualize it, sense it, or feel it, just feel a column of your attention going from your pineal gland all the way down into the core of the earth, just dropping into the sea, that liquid pool of plasma light from the mother arc field. So it's the 13th dimensional frequency actually that's housed in there. We're going to start tying this in with the first sphere of our Kathara grid. So as we gently start to move into understanding the 12 tree grid of our light body, which is our larger blueprint. This is coming outside of the mentality or the thought form of chakra systems and meridians. Now we're going to be moving into what is our larger light body and what we could look at as more of a blueprint rather than a chakra system of our light body. And just to know, just for today, just for now, that the sphere of the earth, the core of the earth, is your first sphere. And this holds the mother arc energy. This holds all of the 13th dimensional frequency of the founder flame sphere of energy, that triad of energy, but it's the mother's energy. So from here, this plasma field of light comes up, and as it comes up around you like a geyser, you can imagine the shape of your shield to be around you any way you choose, the best way that's appropriate for you. For some of you, it may just be that colander and that cylinder of light that comes up. I love to create that Merkaba rotating field that expands a sphere around me. So allowing yourself to just begin to play around with shapes, with colors, with sizes, as whatever is most appropriate for you, really starting to step into your adepthood of mastering the visualization and intentions of your field around you. And as you do that, just keep breathing in and allow yourself to anchor it around your personal space. So the shield that's supporting the physical form of your body. And in this moment, your physical body might actually feel tiny, almost small, compared to the vastness of all of the infinite space in the universe, that it's this tiny little casing that we are embedding a little bit of our consciousness into in order to be within this dimensional reality. And in that, we're like a cellular structure, we're creating the membrane of our cellular structure within a plasma light field. And this plasma light field is fortifying our space so that no matter where we go within this environment, other people's environments are not seeping into ours and contaminating our field. We are having a perfectly protected sphere of our own vital energy, our own personal space, our own rainbow spectrums of color, our own heart song is emanating from our space. All of this is you. It is you. It is you. It is your soul having its own expression here in this reality. And it may be expressing itself in light. It might be expressing itself in symbols, in sparkles, in colors, in any kind of sounds or frequencies, songs or vibrations. And however you are this space. And the physical aspect of your body is just a small kind of interactive aspect of you. It's something that you kind of place out for others to see, but you know that it almost feels so shallow, so two-dimensional, just the physical form of you, because you feel all the other spectrums and dimensions of who you are. And from this space, allowing yourself to take another deep breath and using the breath could feel like all of the elemental of air just moving through you. And it could be as gentle as a breeze or as powerful as a hurricane moving through you. And you could breathe it all the way up and purify the atmosphere within you and just take that light body and move it all the way out into the core of the universe, to the great central sun. And when you connect with that energy, feel the infinite source of all creation, that this is in fact our seed light, our primary sound tones of which we are all created. So this is the radiant light form that lives in the form of light. There is no physical matter within this reality. It is all pure light, and all light has every bit of expression within it. And as you begin to breathe that light down, notice that as you breathe it down, it does a stair step or a descension process. As it breathes down into the dimensions, it has to shift and change itself. And it's almost as if when you take vapors and you begin to bring them into density, it turns into raindrops, and those raindrops, as you bring it into more density, can actually turn into ice cubes. So you're breathing the light down, and as it breathes down, it starts to breathe down into shapes, into radiances, into colors, and all the way down into the manifest physical reality of who you are right here, right now, sitting in the spot where you're sitting, being in the spot where you are. And feel for a moment that every single part of you is just a different vibrational spectrum of this God spark, this God source light that is spiraling and vibrating, oscillating inside of you and creating different manifest structures. Some of them are creating the manifest structure of your skin. Some of the light is creating the manifest structure of your liver or your heart or your brain tissues or your blood. Some of it is even in the manifest physical form of the air that you're breathing. So all that you are experiencing right now is an interaction with different aspects of light. And these lights have the ability to slow down in time, and the slower they become in time, the more tangible and visible and manifest they become. You are a manifest physical form of God's source light, living and breathing on a planetary body, experiencing all of the different rays and frequencies of creation all around you. And in this manifest form where you are, take a moment to start to supercharge your breath. And I want you to just start taking some breaths in, and from your God source spark, what do you want to fill this breath with? And I want you to imagine that within your breath that there is vapors, that there is elements of the water element within you, and you are breathing this inside of you. And I want you to supercharge your lungs with your intentions. It might be the intentions of compassion, of the law of one, of unity, of higher consciousness, of the unified field. It might be intentions of joy, of bliss, of happiness, of creation, of inspiration, of newness, of experience. And take some of these beautiful thought fields from the morphogenetic fields of infinite creation and breathe them into your lungs. And as you do, make that bubble of intention bigger and bigger with the breath within you. And in a moment, we're going to take a deep breath in and hold it all the way in, charging it up in our pineal gland. And on the next exhale, when you can't hold it any longer, just allow that breath to go out into the entire oxygen field and in the atmosphere of the entire planet Earth, and just set that intention as a breeze that blows, like a wind that blows, as the butterfly effect that moves across the earth. That within your heart and your mind, as a creator, as a manifester, as an intended spark of divineness that is expressing yourself in this form, having a remembrance in this very now that it's not just your thoughts that create the change on this planet, but it's how you put them into motion. And what are the desires that are behind those impulses for putting these actions into motion? That on a level, in the beginning, it may be service to self, into the sense of getting ourself into a place that is more balanced, more capable, more strong, more aware of who we are or who our truth is. And that as that begins to expand, that we start to find that within our thoughts more and more, they move towards service to others. That the foundation creates the ability for each thought, each feeling, each emotion, each action, and each intention that you express from you on a daily basis to be these beautiful waves that ripple across the earth. They could be waves of your breath, waves of your intentions, waves of your movement, waves of the sound of your voice, the sound of your song, the sound of your heartbeat, the sound of your joy, the sound of your dancing, the vibrations of your dancing. All that you do, think of yourself as that butterfly effect that is happening continuously within this morphogenetic field of this beautiful harmonic universe where you live. And from this space, allow yourself to just make the command, I am my higher self. I am my higher self living in physical manifest form. From the vibration of physicality, I choose my higher mind. I acknowledge the impulses of the lower mind. I acknowledge the impulses of the physical form, and I acknowledge the impulses of the lower based realms of desire. But in this moment, I am choosing higher mind and living from my higher self. And as my higher self, I speak this declaration of intention. As we come together as a group, speak this from your heart, that we declare from the core of our heart our intention to serve our source, that we align ourselves fully and completely to the heart of the one infinite creator, We dedicate this life to being our true heart song across all the cosmos. We surrender our ego now to be in service to the law of one mission, a first cause light as a pillar of light. In the light of truth, we declare and intend, I am that I am. I am a soul sovereign being, and so it is. And from this place, as being a sovereign soul, a sovereign being, we step into the awareness again and reaffirming our spiritual adulthood and calling forth as an emissary of light that in this moment, as an emissary of light, we are aligning all of our channels of communication in order to communicate with our guardian races, with our soul family, with our beautiful families of the higher dimensional beings and dimensions. And in this moment that we are opening our channels of communication from our essence, from our heart, from our soul, and from our truth, and that we are opening ourselves now to communicate within a level of clean, pure, honest, and true communication with those who are in alignment with our higher self and in alignment with the law of one mission. We are proclaiming now full responsibility and realignment of all of our systems now, calling to the higher self, aligning all of our channels now to open up and align in order to receive the levels of information that are coming through this evening. Align all axitonial lines within the body, back to front, front to back, left to right, right to left, and all diagonals, aligning ourselves now with our 12 tree grid in alignment with the 12 tree grid of the planet, setting full intention for the full axitonial alignment of all grid lines and all structures within our beautiful planetary body on which we are traveling through the universe now. That we are calling forth to align all of our chakra systems to the appropriate calibration in order to align ourselves perfectly with the information that is coming through, and in order to release all that is still detoxing from our body and realigning our sensitivities so that we are desensitizing ourselves from all artificial stimulation and all artificial programming on the planet so that we may be aligned fully and completely to the correct receptors of our higher dimensional bodies, our soul monad, and our higher self. We are proclaiming to realign now our Christ avatar God body. Higher self, align all systems in the body now. Taking a deep breath. And in this very brief moment, as you take a next deep breath, imagine that on the inhale, you're breathing in plasma field light, and on the exhale, feel yourself expanding all aura body layers of your light body field. And one way to visualize this is that each layer of your aura body corresponds with a chakra in your body, which also corresponds with the dimension of that chakra. So chakra 1 with dimension 1, chakra 2 with dimension 2, chakra 3 with dimension 3, and so on. So as you do, almost like you're expanding and blowing out a balloon and bringing space between every single layer of your dimensional bodies of your aura in order to give pure moving light frequency energy within all of the dimensions. So higher self in this very I am present moment of now, commanding to expand every auric body in the light body field to the appropriate calibration to allow the circuitry of all the light filaments to be moving and all of the light particles to move freely and in alignment with eternal living light. Now we are expanding all of these fields now. Anything that is not ours and not in alignment with our higher self, we are commanding now for it to be brought forth in order to be healed, cleared, dissolved, and brought back into divine order. We are commanding this now. Do it now, and so it is. Take a deep breath. On the exhale, just expand them all out. Just activating your rainbow body, knowing that every layer of your auric field corresponds with a color frequency, a color band, and is actually activating your rainbow body auric field around you. And just feel yourself moving in that space. Feel yourself energized in that space. A lot more space, a lot more room. Higher self, align all hormones in the body and all neuroreceptors within the brain in order to be able to receive that which is appropriate at this moment in time for all the information coming through, knowing that the information that we are about to receive has a lot of cognitive aspects to it, but each of it corresponds to different light body layers within our field. So please calibrate all information to be directed to exactly where it is needed within our light body field in order to create homeostasis on every level of our being. Do this now, we command it now, and so it is. Take a deep breath. As you just allow that breath to move through you. As usual, we're just going to bring the PowerPoint up, but as we bring it up, just allowing yourself to be in a multidimensional state of being able to focus not only on your energy body and just really letting the information flow through you, just like particles. And the visual on the screen right now is actually perfect. It's just allowing the light codes and the light frequencies to move through. As we explore today the next layer, which is our electromagnetism. So this is really one of the core essences of who we are, because we live in a world where one of the universal laws is the universal law of polarity. There is also the universal law of gender. There's the universal laws of correspondence. So within all of these, that there is variations. The universal law of vibration also works within here. And so each of these are all spectrums. And each of these spectrums, when we are moving within polarities, the polarities create what are magnetisms, or the positives and the negatives, if you will, that have these strong desires and attractions to each other. And so we're living our life constantly, moment by moment, breath by breath, where every system in our body is moving from positive charges and negative charges and how they are attracting and moving in an infinite spiral of space, but also to the way our emotions move, and also how we create connections in relationships with others in our life, and all the dynamics in which we are inter and co-relating with. So this is all about, this electromagnetism is all about our channels and the gates, which is how our soul gets to express itself within this reality. So our soul is infinite. Our soul is free flowing. Our soul is an aspect or an essence of the God source field that has to step itself down. And the way it steps itself down is by really working with the elementals within this 15-dimensional time matrix. So we step down through morphogenetic field and through scalar mechanics. So last week, we talked a little bit about some of the aspects of communication within us. And we really got a broader understanding of why even emotions play a chemical response kind of part in our body, and vice versa. How come chemicals in our body and chemical imbalances in our body, even the foods we eat in our body, create emotional imbalances in our life, you know? So it should seem that, you know, our body is one thing, compartmentalized, that it's its own unit, but it shouldn't have any effect on the spiritual realm and our meditation and what we're doing. And we're at a place now that we really get to see how intertwined these are, and that part of our path of moving forward is going to actually start to incorporate how we work with our temple, our body, this vessel that we're in. And many times this is going to have to do with us detoxing tons of stuff out of our reality, that we are on kind of a path of detoxification, because if the cup is already full, how are we supposed to make room for our soul and our spirit to be able to utilize this vehicle as its vessel of expression? So very quickly, we talked about the nervous system as the channels of our communication within our body, and also the hormones. So today the hormones are going to be an interesting topic, but we're going to blend those in with the idea of the amino acids within our body. So these are ways in which the communication is moving on a very minute level, like a very cellular level within our body, keeping all of our body in a state of homeostasis or balance. We also looked at how our chakras and our meridians in our body are starting to get into the more subtle layer bodies of communication within this realm, and how our physical body, so the chakras are actually in our physical body, but they're intermingled, interlaced within the light body, as is our meridians. That's the way vital force, chi, that living light, moves through our body. And we also talked about, on the right hand side, you can see the picture of our axonal lines that move through our body. So these axonal lines are really vital and important, because these start to connect us to our 12 tree grid, our 12 strand DNA, all of the 12 spheres. So the 12 is we're going to see that the 12 and the 9 and the 3 are very important numbers as far as patterns and how things work within our physical structure, all the way out into our light body. So I will, as much as possible, tie in that numerology, those numbers within what we're doing, but you're going to see that those are vital patterns that we continually work with over and over as far as how we plug in. So last week we talked a little bit about our 12 tree grid. So either next week or the following week, I'm gonna dedicate the entire presentation into really starting to move us into a deeper understanding of the 12 tree grid, because it is our stair-step blueprint that is coming straight from the God source. So I'm going to read this to you. So you can look at this as a transduction sequence. So it's a way we're basically stair-stepping down or descending from the God spark or God source, the great central sun, the great central core of the universe, and the pure light stream of source coming down as it emanates out and moves through the lower dimensions and the lower harmonic universes. It takes on different sets, sequences, and structures. And these structures are what we put together like building blocks or amino acids, as ways for us to actually create tangible structure in this reality and all of its different blueprints and what it are. These are the same blueprints that make plants, animals, humans, any elementals. All of these are still comprised of living blueprints. So the transduction sequence is the definition of when the God spark connects to the core manifestation body, which is the 12 tree grid, which is our light body. Okay, this is like what we could really start to look at as our original blueprint. And that it is the blueprint record that projects our consciousness identity out into the elemental physical manifest body. So we talked a few weeks back about really working with our Kundalini energy. I'm going to tie that in again. So now we've seen the number 12, but now let's look at the number 9, because the number 9 is also going to be significant when we look at our human design chart. So all 9 dimensions of the spectrum of frequency, or the triad of 3 sets, is really working that energy that's moving up our Kundalini. Now, we can look at the Kundalini again, holds the first 9 spectrums of frequency. And when we can activate those first 9 spectrums, what we're doing is we're activating the first 9 dimensions within our body. And when we can activate it up, this is when it can breathe into our pineal gland and activate the secretion in there. That secretion takes us into the next 3. So 10, 11, and 12. So it kind of activates the full spectrum of the 12 tree grid within us. But our Kundalini holds within it all the first 9 strands. And as it activates, it clears the karma on all 9 of those dimensional spectrums. So this is also tied in with our fetal, our 8 fetal cells that are created at the time of our conception. And our incarnating consciousness is connected with these intelligent layers of the spectrums of frequency. So our intelligence, so our infinite consciousness moves through our strands of DNA. It's part of how we plug in our cables, our wires into these bodies in order to move our HD into the screen to be able to have a whole experience here. So we can look at it like even when you buy cables, now they make like really fancy cables that you can plug in, and what it is they have better alloys, better metals, better ways to conduct the energy through them, cleaner, more vibrant, more clear. And that's what we're doing. We're creating the most beautiful essence that we can be of activating our DNA strands in order to be the conduit, the plug-in, in order for our consciousness to come into this physical body. This is pretty much in a nutshell what our entire incarnation is ever about. Can we get in here, clear the crud, turn on the lights, activate ourselves, turn on all the axitonial lines, all of our the word is slipping me, but it's the cables that the axon cables or whatever that you use for like televisions and plugging in systems and things like that is really almost the same word as our axitonial lines. We want to turn on all of our axitonial lines, plug in our cable back to our higher self, and wake up. Wake up in the living dream, be the lucid dreamer in this lifetime. And this is how we're doing it. Your Kundalini is part of it. Everything you do has a tie into it. And now we're seeing how all of these systems are just like all of the systems in the body. You can't have one not working and the other's just fine. One goes out, they all start to hiccup, right? So these intelligent layers of the spectrum of frequency, they're linked also, so you can think of them as being linked to the silver cord of our soul. So everything, every imprint of our consciousness is right inside of us, right here, right now, right where you're sitting, exactly who you are. You are 100% you. The only thing that's missing in some of the levels of communication is some of the wires just aren't connected. And this is what we're going to be talking about a little bit this evening, some of our lines of communication. So we're just getting all of the cables connected again so we can have pure, clean, telepathic, higher self communication, the remote viewing, all that we do, all that we aspire to, we become the lucid dreamers in this life. So as we look at this, this is an image of the 12 tree grid, and I want to show you how similar it is to the human design chart. So within the 12 tree grid, we have the 12 spheres. Remember how it said on the previous slide that it is your light block, your light body. It is the God spark that actually comes down as a blueprint and creates your light body. Let me just kind of tie in the whole concept again. When we talk about working with our morphogenetic fields or sitting in the 0 point field, calling what we want and pulling it in, what we're doing is we're taking ourselves and we're remote viewing, we're taking our consciousness out and we're sitting in the God source field in our light body. So we're allowing ourselves to be in our light body. From your light body, you can be in the original blueprint. And from your blueprint, you overlay a new experience, a new reality onto this one. Our only job is to get out of the way and not hold on to the old blueprint in order for that manifestation to come into physical reality. So we'll play again some more, but this is right in alignment with a lot of the talks we've done about how to do energy healing, how to work with morphogenetic fields. And if you look at the newsletter that I sent out for this week, I reposted a video from a prior event that we had where we were actually talking about how to manifest with water, how to do healing with water, and how to kind of work with pulling in energy from heart coherence. So if you want to check that out, it's a great reminder of some of the processes and some of the energy for pulling ourselves back in to being in a state of instant manifestation and creation. So the way we do that is through our light body, through our light body, our energy bodies. And when we get out into that spectrum, we can start to see anything that's out of alignment in that field. That's where we want to make the changes, because remember, we're in a reality right now where I really want to take us out of this kind of mind frame of trying to crawl out of a bucket, so to speak. So we talk a lot about ascension, so that we're ascending, right? I want to invite us a little bit different this evening to the idea that we have done descension, that we already are completely whole. Just like the human design chart. You've heard me talk about this before, that when we do a human design chart reading, yours looks different than mine. All of ours looks totally different. But regardless of it, we are all that entire wheel. We are all of it. We're just experiencing it all in our own way and in our own perceptions, right? So now I want to take that same concept and overlay it onto us right now. You and your body, you and your mind, you and your heart, you and your emotions and your essence. You already are 100% complete as God's source light. You already are whole. All we are doing is doing the detox process and bringing ourselves back into that neutral point. So human design, again, this is why I love it so much, because the whole thing about it is that within each of these 64 gates, every single way our soul enters into this reality has an ability to completely be in a shadow form. It has 3 aspects. There's that number 3. It has 3 ways it can express itself, either as our shadow, our gift, or our city, which is our enlightened state. So how our soul comes in, as it moves through a gate, we might be acting totally like an ass. We might be in a total shadow form, right? It doesn't mean our God spark is not within us. It just means that it's got corrosion in the communication lines. It isn't connected fully and completely with higher mind. It's more angled towards shadow, or what we want to call not self or ego mind. So we're in a polarity or a flip state, and every single part of you has the ability to just turn the dial a little bit in order to align itself. But there's nothing missing from you. There's nothing you need to go seek. There's nothing you need to find. It's all intrinsically, perfectly right inside of you right now. And I hope today gives you a little bit more of that insight of how it's all happening inside of you. And none of us is even aware of how subtle it's happening, but it's happening in this very moment. Right now, we're already shifting and changing. So our 12-tree grid is our first level of our light body. It's the architecture of our multidimensional consciousness orientation. So it's holding all of the expression of our consciousness that plugs in to universal consciousness. So it genetically expresses itself in our DNA, and through it, that DNA goes into matter. So it genetically expresses our DNA into a state of matter, and it creates human bodies, and it projects holographic realities. So what it's saying is that your 12-tree grid is a complete architecture of your light body that is actually stepping down your God source consciousness, and it's expressing itself through your DNA. And as it expresses itself, not only is it creating your physical matter in your reality, but it's also creating your holographic reality. So in the newsletter, there was a great picture in there. I didn't put it up on here, but it was about how that we all are living from our own projection. We're all living in our own holographic reality. We're all together right here, right now in this circle, but guess what? We're all experiencing it completely differently. And there was a picture on there, and I really loved it because it's like two people talking to each other, and there's like there's a number on the ground, and it looks like a 6 to one person, and it looks like a 9 to the other person because they're standing on either side of it. Neither of them are able to see the same thing, even though they're standing in the same quote unquote reality. Because again, your reality is based on all of your own internal knobs, dials, and gates and shadows, or all of your places in which you have aligned yourself. So all of your DNA and all of your genetics is unique to you in how you're expressing it. And right here, we're going to see how the human design chart is going to tie into this a little bit more. So the 12-tree grid is also tying in to the human design chart, and the human design chart has 9 centers in there. So I want to just remind you again that our Kundalini holds 9 spectrum frequencies. So everything is moving in 3s and 9s, and there's actually 6 patterns. So the I Ching works in the 6. So 3, 6, 9s, and 12. So just think Nikola Tesla. He kind of summed it up with everything, but I just want to keep pointing out these patterns in here for you. So we're going to start to kind of look at how does our DNA affect us. Like, we hear it all the time. I'm upgrading my DNA. I'm getting downloads, you know, I'm upgrading my blueprint. Well, what does that even really mean? We say it, but in truth, what does it mean to become a light body? What does it mean to become enlightened, or to actually be in this reality as our higher self? So here's how this is working on a physical manifest layer, and how it's working kind of on an energetic or even an emotional layer within us. So your DNA, as you can see, has a codon wheel. It looks almost identical to the ancient Chinese astrology chart. So the ancient Chinese astrology chart, you're going to see this, but it's also almost identical when you look at it with, I'm just going to pull up the human design, the rave wheel on there, because it's moving in there with all of the I Ching. So your DNA actually is basically in alignment with the I Ching and how it works. And we're going to see another slide on here. Haven't yet, we'll come up to it, and how each of your codons in your body is expressing through your DNA. And as those expressions begin to shift and change, what's actually shifting and changing is your perceptions into your holographic reality. And when your perceptions change to your holographic reality, how you interact with your holographic reality changes. Therefore, how you set out your vibrations or intentions into it begins to repattern it. So you change from the inside, and then as that steps down and changes within you, as you continually project it out, it's a continual cycle that is happening. So our codons within our body are affecting almost every single system within our body. And I wanted to bring this up because this is just amazing. So our codons in our body are moving through, our DNA is actually continuously rewriting itself. As your DNA is continuously rewriting itself, one of the number one things it uses within it is your amino acids. So I want to actually show you what you're made up of and how important each of these things are into your spiritual identity, your spiritual adulthood, and how you're manifesting your reality around you. So amino acids basically are like the building blocks of the body. They not only help to create your muscles and your structures, they affect every single system within your body. So amino acids, they link together to make up proteins, but they not only make up our body, but also they regulate almost every essential function in our body. They also regulate and maintain our body by becoming enzymes or hormones. That level of communication that we're having with absolutely everything in our body, our amino acids are at the base level of it. And one more important function of the amino acids is they supply energy to the body. So the vitality and all of the energy that we're expressing within the body. So as we look at these amino acids, I want you, I don't have a video on here, but if you see how they are produced, they are basically moved along through the DNA, and the DNA is directing them into everything they do. So your DNA, so your light body and your actual structure of who you are is moving you on this molecular level through your body and recreating absolutely everything in your body on a moment by moment basis within you. So amino acids make up about 20% of who you are, which are directly connected with your DNA, with your blueprint, who you are. And each of these is communicating through every system of your body, from your light body, from your spirit, from your God spark. So they're like the messengers of your God spark. Now I want you to look at this image, and if you look at it, and this is being very liberal in the sense that it's saying we're made up of about 60% water. For people that are well hydrated and vital, this could even be up to 70, maybe even more in their body. So I do want to invite you to watch that other video again, but just as a reminder, all of the talk that we do about how beneficial it is to set our intentions into water, just to remember again that your intentions on water instantaneously change the structure of the water. So I do want to remind, we're not changing the chemical compounds of the water. What we're doing is we're changing the structure. We're changing how it moves and how it interconnects and how it communicates with everything else in the body. So when we change the structure of it, what it's changing is the message that it's carrying. And when our body is vibrating at that vibration of courage or above, so that graph that I sent you on the newsletter of the power versus force, which is that any vibration that is 200 or above is actually creating living light energy on the planet. So we're talking courage, we're talking love, we're talking joy, we're talking happiness, we're talking vitality, all of these energies. And that any time that we're programming our water in our body through our emotions, through our thoughts, or through our shadow forms within us, by any lower vibration, so less than 200 in there, it is dead light energy. It is death. It is dead energy that is actually deteriorating and killing the source of light within that form. So when you can see now that you are a huge communication device, water, we're going to touch into it. Let me see if the next screen is on there. Oh, actually, let me finish this thought first. That water is one of the number one ways in which the information from our DNA is actually moved through our body, the cellular memory that is actually transported and held within our body. So it's communicating with absolutely everything in our body. And these amino acids are a huge part in how this communication is happening. That you can see that you are a living antenna of God source light. You are a God source antenna. that pillar of first cause light. And as you come here as a pillar of first cause light, now your job is to start to see even more how important it is what we put in our body. What thoughts are we putting towards the food we eat? What thoughts are we putting towards every beverage that we drink, to what we listen to the words we speak, to what we allow us in our atmosphere and in our relationships around us. So it's truly our job to look at our holographic reality and look at the smog in it. What is in need of detoxing? How is the atmosphere of your sphere? What's in it? What level are you at? Is it vibrating? Is your entire sphere at 200 or above? Or do you have smudgy pockets that are 200 and below? So this is what we're starting to look at in there, and just starting to see that our body needs to be, if we look at the law of one, we really want a level of more than 50%. We want 51 at the minimum of where our thoughts, feelings, and emotions are, to be at the level of 200 or above, where we are sitting here in a state of service to others, in a state of pure consciousness. And the more and more and more, how much can we turn that dial up? How much can we tighten up the cables of our communication so that we're actually starting to be at levels of 80%, pure, clean, God spark communication? Can we get, how high can we get within this incarnation into being that perfect channel of God source light here, without letting ourselves be infiltrated by the distortion fields of anything else that's happening on this planet? How so solid in you can you be that you're not being swayed by family, what family says, by what happens at your work, by what you see on the side of the road, by what you see on the media, or by what you're watching happening on the planet, or what you're noticing? It's not about not having compassion, but it's about not letting your internal whole sphere of who you are be altered out of who you know your truth to be, and getting sucked into somebody else's holographic reality. Because remember, the more you hold your holographic reality within the truth of God's source light, the more you're projecting that out and being an anchor for that energy, so that it can be the new reality, and that other people entrain to it. There's so many people on the planet that don't know this level of holding their energy. So when you can hold it so strong, guess what? You become the guide, the mentor, that new stable structure, that antenna of a frequency that they sit and go like, that is awesome. I want more of that in my life. And that's how we become the change on this planet. So just for fun, this is going to be our little tidbit on our galactic history, but I just want to show, when you really look at codons, when you look at the amino acids, which are the building blocks in our body, and that our DNA is our library. And when you actually watch how DNA connects with it, it's basically unzipping and rezipping and rearranging itself in packets of 3, actually, over and over. And as those sequences change, it actually changes physiology. It changes different things within our genes. It changes different structures. And so just to know that on higher dimensional, and I'm actually not going to say higher dimensional levels, I'm actually going to say in more advanced civilizations, where genetics is very well known, even on planet Earth within the human race, humans are getting extremely adept at working with genetic manipulation, which means that you can go in there and unzip and rearrange codons and DNA and to create things. And so I just want to invite you to start to see some of the ways within our galactic history, and even within the histories on Earth, to see how some of the influences have taken place on our planet. I also want to reiterate in there, as much as there has been genetic manipulation on the planet, I want to remind you of the very first thing we were talking about when we started this, which was you have all of you right inside of you. You are whole. You are complete. And what we're doing again is making the connections again, doing the healing, doing the repair, restoring the channels of communication. And when that happens, guess what? There's no level of genetic manipulation that can outsource or outdo God source light. You are an angelic human being, and regardless of any manipulation that has ever been placed on your bloodline, we all have a different kind of genetic history that we're holding within us. Each of us has come here to heal and repair different things. So whatever yours is, regardless of the story of what that genetic manipulation may have been, or any of the stories within it, you are an angelic human being. You have right within you the ability to use your intentions to restore all of those levels of communication. And we are, this whole evening is all about how we get to reset all of it back to our blueprint, really realigning our God source spark within us through a 12 tree grid. So just a reminder that water is life. Water is everything. Water is that it requires a level of water in order for there to be creation. But as we were talking about utilizing water for manifestation, that you could speak intentions into the water, I want to remind you that water is in many, many different forms. Water is just a form of crystal. And some of these crystals are in ice form, are in vapor form, are in gaseous form. And so within this, you can start to utilize that ability to set intentions out with everything. You can utilize it with the crystals. You can utilize it with even the air that you're breathing. Using that idea in the meditation that when you breathe, that every exhale, you could be sending a prayer out or an intention out, that butterfly effect out onto the planet. So just to know that water is life. And if that was one thing that we could take, that of all the knowledge and all of the things that we talk about, that it's jumbling in there it is. But if there was one thing you could always remember at the forefront, and that is to do ritual or treat water as the most sacred element, you could utilize just that one practice, and all the rest of it would just kind of start to fall into place, because it would come to you on an as needed basis. But your focus would be so much on having the reverence for water, having the love for water, and then remembering that water is in the air, that as I move my hands, I'm basically moving them through water. As I breathe, as I speak, I am speaking out words that are imbued with water. My entire body is a sacred temple of water in one way, shape, or form or another. So let's just keep bringing that into a tangible practice that we can put into everyday life. And that within that, it helps us start to catch more and more the subtle energies and the different shadows that we're just spending a little time bringing back into balance. And when we think of balance, we realize that, again, there's a sense of polarity on the planet. So everything is happening with a sense of polarity, a black and a white, a yin and a yang. And as we look at this, just to know that this is also happening right inside of you. This is how the amino acids are even moving through the body, your electrons and your neutrons and your protons, and how all of this is happening. And so I wanted to show this visual of the yin and the yang on here, because this has a lot to do with the I Ching. And these 6 lines, there's 3 lines on one side and 3 lines on the other, but the long solid lines are the yang, and the 2 dashes are the yin. And in your human design chart, when you look at all 64 numbers of the tree, or sorry, all 64 numbers on your entire rave wheel, you're going to see all of these different blendings of these 6 lines on there, and they might be dashes and they might be lines, but each of these, now you know, has an energy and an essence to it, a polarity to them. And some of these lines, or some of these codons, or the I Ching, the numbers, the gates on your chart, have more yin or have more yang, or are very balanced. Right? So now you're going to start to see that even every gate on your chart has a polarity to it. And what does a polarity want? It has a desire to have that electromagnetism to connect with its other half. So when we think of connecting with our other half, this is going to be interesting for us to see how this plays out for us on a personal level on our life. And I did not put an entire human design chart on here, but I'm just going to take us back to this one. So in this mandala and in this wheel here, you have all 64 gates on here. And if you were to look at your human design chart, and if you have it in front of you, that would be perfect. And if you look at it on the right-hand side, it's going to say personality. And on the left-hand side, it says design. Now, even these two have an energy and an essence of a polarity to them. The design side is going to have a little bit more of the yin energy. It is your physical body. It's all of your ancestral energy. It is the subconscious layer of your programming, and it is where most of the conditioning. So in human design, they use the word conditioning to express a being not self. So conditioning would be the same term that we use with belief systems or programming or any kind of manipulation. So when we talk about the karma and the debt that we inherit from our ancestors, this would be the conditioning, right? Those filters and those layers we move through. So when you look at your chart, I want to bring into a little bit of awareness that in the very beginning of your life, you are holding an amount of conditioning, these beliefs and these structures within you. And when you hold these polarities, guess what? As you start to move out on your own, and this is where we see this in relationships, it's so fun, that because of this conditioning, that which is coming to the forefront to heal, or what may be one of our main life's goals in order to bring into balance and healing, might be some of the patterns or the familiarities that we were holding, some of the storylines of our family. So within human design, we're going to see that each of these gates has an energy and a charge to them. And each of these gates is wanting to connect to a channel. So I have an image here that shows what a channel is. So the center is going to be much like a chakra point within your body. It's an energy center. And within it is the numbers, and these are the gates. These are the ways in which your soul is able to enter in, to step down and enter into this reality. And it comes through these different gates with different polarities. So they might be more yin, they might be more male, they might be more female in that kind of energy. And as it's expressing itself, its number one desire, it has an instinctual impulse. So on this picture, you're going to see the 37 in the emotional solar plexus is wanting to connect with the gate 40 in the will center, in the heart center. And so if you do not have that gate on the other side, there is going to be a pull within you on a subconscious level that will constantly pull you towards others that hold that energy. So on a subconscious level, you won't even realize it, but it's right within your chart. Why you keep getting attracted to the same people, why you tend to kind of maybe sometimes even end up in similar situations, or why, you have a pulse or a draw that just feels like it's not connected. And then when you are around certain people or around certain situations, all of a sudden it feels like sometimes things click in, and all of a sudden you have the energy to do things or the ability to speak things that you can't when you're not in those situations. So we're not going to get into it this week, but next week I do actually want to talk about some energy on what is called our definitions, which can either be a single definition, a split definition, and within a split definition, there's kind of 4 different variances in there. You can have just a simple split. You could be split with a triple split, or you can actually have a quadruple split in there. And there are a few people in here with that. I just want to say on a very basic level, if you look at your chart right now, and you can see on there if you're a single definition or if you're a split definition, just to know that as a split definition, that is going to create more of an energy for you in your life to have relationships with others. When you are with others, there is more connection that's connecting those places that are split within your chart and completing a lot of your channels or the continuity of your energy flow within your body. So as we start to get in depth with the human design chart, it's going to be easier and easier and easier to see why you maybe feel energy a certain way that you do, and maybe why you are attracted to certain patterns and places. Unfortunately, on a ego level, unfortunately, I will say, we get drawn towards partners who generally have a conditioning or a resonance towards one of our parents or someone in our family. We will find ourselves reliving patterns of dynamics that we either were conditioned by, observed, or participated in within our family dynamic. And it does not have to do with gender. So say you get in a relationship with someone later and you're a female, it doesn't necessarily mean that that person's going to express your father's perspective, or if it's a female, the mother's perspective. It just means that it could hold either one of the patterns. A pattern is a pattern, and who you create a new relationship, that person will generally have that pattern, and we get pulled towards those patterns, ta-da, in order to balance ourselves. So most of the times, relationships are where we grow. They're where we learn who we are. They're where we learn our conditioning and our not self aspects and what we need to break free from. And sometimes the hardest part is learning how to stand up for our truth and speak our truth, because part of the conditioning is that, you know, we are meant to be with a family a certain way. So a lot of times we have these abilities to have a relationship with a partner who is holding the patterns of one of our parents in our family, some of the conditioning we got from growing up. And now guess what? As an adult, we get to overcome those patterns to balance ourselves with that relationship with that partner. And guess what? When you get the strength to overcome that relationship with your partner, it heals a part of you. It changes the DNA inside of you. So now you have a stronger foundation to turn around and put those same boundaries to your parents. Most children can't straight out do that kind of work with the parents. It's really hard to speak your truth a lot of times in certain patterns with parents. So it takes us having a relationship with somebody in order to learn to get our strength, our truth, our voice, and our foundation within ourselves, so that we can turn around and then be able to put our boundaries and our truth to even the structures from which we were born from. So I'm just going to bring this screen into view really quick. It's just also confirming again in another way that the genetic clock with its amino acid combinations, and this is actually from one of the human design books. It's called Living Design by Richard Rudd. Love it. But this is a beautiful quote in there as far as how the I Ching is actually a genetic clock of our amino acid combinations within our body. So the human design wheel is literally the stringing out of our genetic code. It's like a planetary genetic clock that we can use as a tool to read the design of anything that is alive, from a man to a plant, so long as we know when it was either born or created. So this is again telling us how important it is to know when we landed on this planet. When did we enter into this reality through our womb of creation? So where you landed on the planet, what time you landed on the planet, you know, then the geographical location of it. So, and then the date on the calendar wheel, all gives you coordinates to where you landed, which gives you signatures to the different planetary energies, the different neutrinos that we're moving. Neutrinos are actually the stardust that is moving through everything, that is holding other packets of information. So I would say it's a more evolved, you could almost look at it like water. As far as everything it moves through, it holds the memories of it and continues to share that with each and everything that it touches and moves through. So where the neutrinos were on the moment that you landed on this planet at your coordinates creates an entire blueprint for you that starts the wheel of your genetic coding, that you can actually look at it to read your design to see exactly what patterns are either in alignment or non-alignment and what you can do to bring them back into alignment. So this is just showing there's 64 codons and 64 hexagrams. So everything just keeps lining up. And the last polarity that I really want to show you that is really, really powerful for us, because as we look more at your karmic astrology, so some of the patterns that your soul has been through even beyond this incarnation, you're going to see that every house in the zodiac wheel has a polarity to it. So you're going to see that, say, the house 8 and the house 2 have a polarity to it, or the house 1 and the house 7 have a polarity to it. And that each of these, that in truth, we want to come into wholeness with all of it, just the same as you are everything right inside of you. As far as the God spark, you are everything. As far as the human design chart, you are everything as far as all 12 houses on your astrological wheel, and you are everything as far as all of the signs. So even if you were born into a particular sign on the zodiac wheel, your job is to actually bring wholeness and balance to all 12, that you hold all 12 within you, and you are expressing them all in different ways, and you want to bring them all into balance. So as I show that, I want to kind of end this evening, as far as this presentation, with helping you go through one aspect of the chart. And as we've been talking about water, as we've been talking about all of the energy that's moving through us, I really want to focus on the emotional solar plexus, which is really one of the spirit centers of our human design chart. And when you think of the emotional solar plexus, the emotional solar plexus is all about a wave. It's all about actually multiple waves. There's waves that move through your own personal experiences through you. There's also waves that are more like tribal waves or community waves. So the waves that move through society, there's also waves that are planetary waves. There's waves that are solar system waves. There's waves that are seasonal waves. And all of these waves, whether or not your solar plexus is defined, you're going to experience them in one way or another. So it is one of the awareness centers on your chart, and it has its own unique patterns of fear within it. So I want to just go through this so that you can maybe see some of the places there might be a little bit of shadow within your chart. So just like the ajna, which is the top triangle on the very top of your chart, and the spleen, which is the triangle on the other side of your chart, which holds all of the fears in it. It's all the intuitions, the fears, and the health and the time within the body. So the splenic center is on the polar opposite of the emotional solar plexus, but it is known as one of the centers of the primal fears of humanity. But we've talked a little bit about how even the ajna, so our way that we are bringing in information into this planet, the way we process and think, also creates. Our mind has fears, our mind has anxieties. And now today I want to show you that within the fluid and the liquid form that we are, that there's a different kind of fear that we hold within here. And the emotional solar plexus is about nervousness. It's about nervous energy, anxious energy. And these 7 fears, it's saying here, are very powerful because of the nature of the solar plexus as a motor. So They're not fears that are static. They operate in waves and they can suddenly change. So as you look at your chart, noticing what channels or gates that you may have active within your chart. And if you have nothing active within your chart, I'm just saying this is a person that has 0 gates in the emotional solar plexus center and would have it not colored in. So 0 gates would mean no channels at all to it, not defined. And when you're not defined 100% completely in the center, it means that it is one of your primary places that you came to actually absorb and learn about the energies of that center. So about the energies of emotions, because if your center is open, which is about 50% of the planet, it means you're taking in the energy of everyone else around you, and not only taking it in, but you're amplifying it, okay? And let me tell you something. When you hear that, the first thing you might think is like, oh, well, then I'm noticing it, and then I can imagine it bigger. No, it's not like that. It's actually as if it feels like it's yours. When you are open in a center, you will take in the energy from other people around you, but you won't cognitively know that it's not yours. It will just all of a sudden feel like nervousness inside of you. It'll just all of a sudden feel like you're having an emotional wave moving through you, and you don't know why. All of a sudden your mood just changed, but now you feel pissy, or now you feel something else, and you don't know why. When you just walked into a new place, all of a sudden your mood completely changed, and now you feel different. It feels like it's yours. And this is where it starts to get really amazing for us, because now we can start to see that on that subtle level, when you're knowing who you are and you can feel that subtle little shift inside of you change, or maybe it's a dramatic shift, you can really start to stop and notice around you and just say, what just changed? What just happened? What around me in my environment? Whose energy is this that I'm taking on? And now you can feel others on such a compassionate level and be able to understand them. But at the same time, you get to set up your boundaries so that you're not taking on that energy for other people. So I want you just to notice your chart. And actually, I'm going to take this away so that I can see the chat a little better, because I want to show you guys. I just want to see the chat. Perfect. So within this, whomever is on, you can either just type on there too, whether you're defined or undefined. If you find that you have channels or gates or anything like that, you can just type them in there. I'm just going to share a little bit. As you look at your emotional solar plexus, I want to talk a little bit about how some of this energy portrays itself within our field, because the emotional solar plexus is a manifesting energy. So it has one of the manifesting channels within it. One of the channels, which is the 3635, goes directly to the throat, but anything it connects to, it sends an emotional wave to it. It creates an energy as a motor into putting something into action based on an emotional wave. So if we can all think about that for a minute, we can realize that not every emotion that we have is an emotion that we want to actually pulse out and push into creation. So if it's an energy that's coming from a shadow form, we wouldn't want to use that to put a butterfly effect into our reality and to create our reality. So you have 1, 2, gate 22 and gate 36. Perfect. So as we look at the channels in there, when we are defined, we are going to automatically have these natural rhythms and waves that move through us. And I've talked many times about how important it is for an emotional solar plexus to begin to control their waves in the sense of know your waves so that you can be the director of your waves. You can gain the wisdom from them so you can begin to actually utilize them and move with them. But as we look at them, we get to look at some of the fears that are in there. So I'm going to start with the gate 37. Actually, I'll start with the gate 36. The gate 36 is at the top right corner. And the gate 36 is in the energy of Pisces. So the energy of Pisces is going to be about emotions. It's going to be about the element of water. It's going to be about transcending the kind of material realm here and moving into a higher state of mind. It's a very intuitive channel, as one of the water channels or water signs. And within the energy of Pisces, of gate 37, I'm sorry, I'm started with 37 again. So scratch all of that. We're doing 36. So a lot of these are actually in the sign of Pisces. So we're doing the gate 36. It's in the energy of Pisces, and it's trying to push through, and it really wants to move through. And this is the one manifesting channel. And this manifesting channel is the pure intention and pulse to just get up and do. And it's moving towards the channel of transitoriness into the gate 35. And the gate 35 is it's in the energy of Gemini. So in the energy of Gemini is going to be a huge energy of communication about what you speak about. So it's taking that fluidity of the Pisces and moving it in. And I want to even show that there's not a pure polarity between Pisces and Gemini. So even in being able to harness the energy, because the gate 36 is about crisis, and it's about things kind of going into upheaval and making your way through things that are not easy all the time. And then you get your way through the channel that is itchy. It just needs to move into the energy of Gemini, which is all about being able to communicate, about being able to speak about it. It's the twins energy. And so there's can be a duality energy in how it gets expressed. And so to know that within there, so that the gate 36, when it's not in balance, there can be this energy of inadequacy. There's always a feeling of, did I do it right? I could have done it better. Or sometimes that thought in the back of the mind starts to spin about, oh, I should have said something different, or maybe if I would have done something different. And I think a lot of us can remember times where we laid in bed, or we would wake up early in the morning and just go over thoughts of the day before, or how we did things, or maybe wishing we would have done things better, just those places that the mind goes. And that has a lot of energy from the energy of inadequacy. And so when we get into this place, it's about remembering that this channel gives you the energy to connect with others, to know them on a deeper level, and to have the words to communicate with them in a way that they can actually feel you understand them. And in those words, it shares with them the wisdom and the inspiration that can help them move through their crisis, their challenge, and into their new experiences in their life. That even though we get so comfortable with being in the familiar, that it's always through change where we grow. So as we move down into the number 22, and so seeing that up there. So the gate 22 goes along with the 55, and these two are the most sensitive emotional channels on the chart. These are so incredible because this is actually where the energy of God's source beingness kind of comes in, the ability to sense and feel. And so this one has an energy of silence to it, but think about silence. For some people, silence is amazing. It's like that tranquil state. But for other people, it's like ants under the skin. It drives them crazy. Like if they're in a state of silence, or they don't have something distracting them, they actually get anxious or agitated, or they need to move, or they need to do, or they need to go. And it's that emotional wave in there. And so beginning to feel that energy of there, and the 22 is actually wanting to move into the gate 12. So this is another emotional one moving into a level of communication. So this one is also another Gemini channel. And as the Pisces, that emotion moves into the Gemini, how can it flow and move all of that intuition in a way that doesn't contradict, that doesn't hit like hard-headedness, and has the ability to communicate out? So this one is wanting to completely create, the 22 is wanting to create the channel of openness. And this channel of openness is really amazing because it has the ability to really make a difference in how other people get guided into maybe acting or being within a public or a social situation. So within this channel, there's a real ability to have a charisma and a way to really influence others in a positive way. But guess what? It really depends on our emotional state that we're in when we're doing it. So what energy are we being a pillar of first cause light with through this channel? So just beginning to notice that whenever that shadow starts to creep into any of these channels, are places to realize that we're meant to let the God spark just move and flow through us. Kind of like the whole idea that when we get out of the way, the body just heals itself. Well, when we get out of the way, the God spark just flows through us and goes where it is directed. We go where we are led. We do as we are guided. And as we just be in the state of openness, be in the state of silence where we can just channel that energy through, again, it takes all of the difficulty of life right out of our hands. We've been struggling for most of our life to try to figure out how to navigate this reality. And now we just get to realize that it's like, oh, the more I open myself, the more I free myself, the more I just allow myself to be where I am guided, I find more and more that I'm right where I need to be. And the words just come the way that they need to. And it's almost like you get to get amazed by the very words that come out of your mouth because you're not in the way. They just come right through. So as we move through the gate 37, so the gate 37 is about the fear of tradition, about the fear of getting stuck in the old, the fear. And so there's a whole connection with family in this one, and friendship, and generating kind of how to work with the tribe. It is one of the tribal channels within the center, which means it's about kind of creating a cohesiveness, connecting with others. And so what is the fear in there? What is the fear of us being able to hold on to some of these traditions? Or do we feel as though they feel restrictive, or they feel as though we need to break free from them? What are some of the challenges that we're working through with family within some of these channels? And the fear of tradition in here, this one's a very interesting one because it's really moving through from a water sign into an earth sign. So the gate 37 is in Pisces, and it's flowing through into the gate 40. And that channel of community is moving into Virgo. So you can also feel in there kind of that Pisces and Virgo don't necessarily want to always kind of be in harmony with each other. And so how do you balance those kind of polarities in there? How would you take a Pisces kind of energy and take that wave of emotion and get a Virgonian to go like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. So this is all the levels of channels of communication that we have right inside of us that are moving, and we need to be able to learn how to harmonize conflicting energies many times within us. So then we have 6. 6 is really a powerful one. I actually know a lot of people in the group have this one all the way to the gate 59. And this one's amazing. So this one is the channel of mating. So it's the channel of sex and mating, so relationship, if you will. But it's about kind of generating the next communities and the next generations. And within this one is the fear of intimacy, the fear of who can I trust? Like, can I actually open myself up? And this one's a pure Virgonian a pure Virgo channel. So it's actually coming from the gate 6, which is in Virgo, to the gate 59 in Virgo, which means it's all about kind of like that structure and that perfectionism and needing the relationship to be just right. And it's very earth-based and kind of grounded in that energy. And so within it, there's just a real energy about being nervous about revealing who you really are with others. And can you trust in that? Because a relationship to them is so important. If it gets broken in any way, shape, or form, there's a level of distrust and that intimacy that can happen. So who can we be within that vibration? Imagine that kind of intimacy issue from an emotional state. You can see that in so many relationships in the planet, that people are guarded and they don't want to open up, because what are we afraid of? We're afraid to get hurt. We're afraid to have our heart broken. We're afraid to be vulnerable with others. So when we are in an awareness that you are the totality, that you have God's spark fully and completely, all is right inside of you, then we know nothing's missing, and that all of these inadequacies, all of these fears and these insecurities are really truly just an illusion of the filters and the crud and the limitations in our channels of communication that are based on a lot of the outside influence. So that's coming from our conditioning, our programs, our karma, our debt, and any kind of outside frequency or manipulation that may be directed at the planet in order to keep us from truly waking up to our divine blueprint. So with this, just know that any of these fears that ever come up for us, or these nervousnesses, when we start to feel it in our body, our job is to just acknowledge it and watch it and just go like, wow, isn't that interesting? That feeling is moving through me right now. But at this very moment, I know it's not mine. I know it's not my truth. What can I do? Higher self, help me find exactly what's out of balance so that I may restore it back to love and pull it from me. Now I'm complete with it. Now I am commanding a clean channel of connection and intimacy now. And so it is. And we can keep just commanding ourselves into a state of open communication and wholeness. So within this, we get into the gate 49. The gate 49, when we look at the gate 49, this is the fear of nature. It's actually wanting to go into the gate 19. And so it's kind of almost, it's almost a polar opposite, not quite a polar opposite from the Virgo, but it's a pure Aquarius channel. So this is the gate of principles. It's a gate of revolution. It's a wave that either accepts or rejects principles based on its need of the tribe. So the crazy thing is it's a tribal channel, and the last thing an Aquarius usually is someone that conforms. So there's a whole energy within the Aquarius energy of wanting to kind of stand out, to be different, to push the boundaries in order to see what can change, in order for that unique nature, that Uranian nature to come through, in order to see what is ready to shift and change. And so within there, it has a fear of nature. It's a nervousness about being rejected. It's a nervousness about unpredictability. And it's a nervousness about consequences. So within that, we can see how sometimes that energy plays on our emotions on such a subtle level. But when we can start to begin to open ourselves to just feeling the waves move through us, no judgment, where is it coming from? And also, I also want to remind that if you feel any of these kind of vibrations or emotions, really look at yourself. And remember that the majority of the energy that you felt, even if you're well into your mature adult years, is still coming many times from the conditioning or the relationships and patterns that you learned, experienced, or took on from your parents or your family around you. So a lot of what we're even expressing ourselves as is not even ours. So it's your chance to get to heal it. Whatever you're being connected to, it's pulling and pulsing you towards healing that within yourself. So as we move into 55, 55 is another one. This one is kind of more, it's the partner to 22, which is all about the God source energy moving through. But that God source energy moving through is about openness. It's about letting divine God move through and channel through and then speak and express, right on this planet, being that channel. 55 is about the God spark coming from inside and letting itself move out and come right through. So 22 comes in, 55 is from in, moving out. So what does that mean? It's the emoting channel. This is like all about emotions. This one is so much about exactly where you are in emotional state in the moment. It's about impulses in the very moment. It's about feeling your body where your body is at, that you, when it's right for you to eat, you eat. When it's right for you to sleep, you sleep. When it's right for you to go out and play, you play. That you feel it within your body, and that you in truth really need to do from what your body is guiding you towards in that moment. But then again, remembering that this really takes a huge level of discipline for you to be able to start to clear all the shadow work right outside of you, so that you're not making these impulse decisions based on stuff that would best be served being detoxed out of your body. So this goes right along with dopamine. We talked last time about the hormones and how there's a lot of addictive patterns in this society where we live. We're in a very fast-paced society. So we get impulses within us to need to look at our cell phone, to need to check social media, or to need to do certain things, or even sometimes when we're tired, the quick fix to like eat food or watch a show or do something. There's all of these different mechanisms that come, that what they're really doing is feeding the dopamine expression within the body. And this is where a lot of people actually go out and seek meaningless hookups with people or sexual relations with people that are not emotional based, mainly just to get that dopamine fix within their body through the orgasmic experience, through the rising of emotions through the body. And so it's just looking for that next drug. It's just looking no different than going out and taking a drug. But our job is to ask ourselves, what are we treating like a drug in this reality that would best serve detoxing? And my personal one that, that I know that it's such a prevalent one across the planet, is that I've used as food, as different things. I've used food for a lot of different ways to just do the quick fix of either to rest when I feel tired or to check out after a whole thing. And so it's really interesting to watch, because in society's mind, that doesn't look like a big deal, does it? It's not like I went and did a big old rail of cocaine or something. But on an internal level in the body, it's doing the same damage to our spiritual body. So I'm inviting each of us to look at the things that we're addicted to in life, that we are getting the quick fixes for, as opposed to putting the long-term effort into for the true reward, and just seeing what might be hooking into those neuroreceptors within our body that are blocking us from really doing the work necessary to do to become the detoxed vehicle for God's source light. So that is just one that I will share on there. And as I talk about 55, 55 is a Pisces gate, and it's moving towards gate 39, towards a Cancer gate, which is an entire water channel. So it's huge emotion of the Pisces. And moving into the Cancerian energy, which has a lot to do with home, to do with body, to do with comfort, to do with all of that, and a huge emotional state, and also needing that level of comfort and that level of security in there. So really just seeing in this level of emoting, because when you have this, if you have this channel and you have it dialed in, your body is going to be a to absolutely everything that is correct for you. And life will just feel like a tingle, like a constant tingle for you your whole entire life, because you'll just be letting God's source spark guide you, and everything will be firing all your neurons based on what is true for your heart, your soul, and your spirit. So that's an amazing channel, and it goes with the channel of synthesis. Sorry, not synthesis, with this channel, the channel of openness, which is with the gate 22. So those are really powerful. And then the next and the last one is the gate 30. And the gate 30 is wanting to connect with the gate 41 for the channel of recognition. Again, it's a really emotional, emoting channel, but this one's a pure Aquarius channel. So this one's about the fear of fate, the fear of what may happen. So it's like a whole gate of feelings, but oh my goodness, it's, you know, it's a desire to feel deeply, but can you trust? Can you open up? Can you be there? So it's this real fear and nervousness about what might or might not happen, that little worry wart that kind of spins a wheel in there. That, again, it's just a nervous energy that's moving through our body. And Aquarius, even though it is the water bearer, is an air sign. So this is really a mental channel that's moving through us. So just being able to understand that on a very fluid level, that we are water beings. And as water beings, emotions also within our human design chart are one of the ways in which we play a huge role in how these waves move through us. And each of these waves have frequencies that are expressing themselves. And if we can start to clean up those frequencies, dial them in, line them up with our heart, make sure they're tingly, they're fun, they're happy, that they're always based 200 or above. And the newsletter and the blog both has that image. It's the power versus force. That is a whole list of a range of emotions that we have. And that when we can really start to live our life at levels of emotion that are at high resonant frequencies, it's going to keep cleaning up our channels and frequencies, and anything that does not serve us, that we can speak to our higher self, acknowledge it, higher self, I acknowledge these emotions and feelings that are moving through me, that wherever they come from, however I inherited them, that I do not agree to them any longer. And this is a perfect way. So now that you know within your human design chart that your gates have a triad of energy that moves through them, and every single one of these triads affects your amino acids within your body, which are your building blocks of you and your holographic reality around you. Each of these three gates could either be in a shadow, in a gift, or in an enlightened state of how you perceive the energy that's moving through there. Every single gate has a polarity to it. So it's either got a more masculine or more feminine. It's got a positive charge or a negative charge. It also corresponds with the astrological wheel, which means that it has an elemental aspect to it of being one of the 12 of the astrological wheel in that energy, but also earth, air, fire, or water energy along with it. And as you hold that within you, that these gates that you're holding within you are part of the ways in which your soul is coming through and to express. Today, we played around a little bit with understanding the emotional solar plexus channels. So every single gate within the emotional solar plexus is wanting to reach out to one of the other centers, and that you inherently will try to connect with other people in your life that help bring that energy into you and help click in and electromagnetically connect those channels for you so that you can move energy, and that we're all like puzzle pieces in this planet. So every person you hang out with, you plug in a little different, and then you interact with someone else and you might plug in different with them and plug in different with them. And that's why some people feel more harmonious and some are not correct. We will plug into those that we are a resonant frequency match with. We call into our reality whomever is a match for us. Guess what? Most of the matches that we've had up until we start developing ourselves have a lot of shadow or a lot of family karma and debt programming or conditioning. So the first things we really start to heal in our life is our family karma, our family debt, and learn to be an adult and step out of the family wheel completely. It doesn't mean you don't have to ever associate with those people, but now you're doing it as a sovereign individual. That whole declaration of intention, I am sovereign, I am free, you are whole, you are complete. Now, as you start to connect with channels in your life, you realize that these are just the ways that levels of information flow and connect. And the entire universe is always flowing, communicating, connecting, creating, expanding, and experiencing. And your job is, again, to get that ego out of the way so that you can be the vessel of pure God source light for your channel of your higher self, so that you can just be from your higher mind here, descending from the different matrices of your 12 tree grid as you step down from your higher stations of identity, meaning you're stepping down from angelic or God source being consciousness down into this reality. And guess what? You can be a living, walking, breathing human being expressing yourself in your angelic form. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and just bring our presentation to a close for this evening. I'm so grateful I got to share that with you.